Why was she invisible? That's the question Kira asked herself every morning when she tied that ridiculous pink waitress apron around her waist. 6 months ago, she'd been Petty Officer First Class Blackwell, Navy SEAL. Now she was the girl who refilled coffee cups for men who'd never seen real combat, who smiled when they snapped their fingers for more cream, who said yes, sir, and coming right up to people who wouldn't last 10 minutes in her old world. The sun sliced through Pete's diner like it was trying to cut the place in half. Long shadows across worn linoleum. 30 years of boots and coffee spills had left their mark on that floor. The air was thick with burnt coffee and bacon grease, the kind of smell that gets into your clothes and stays there, no matter how many times you wash them. Kira moved between tables like a ghost. Practice makes perfect, and she'd had plenty of practice making herself disappear. The uniform didn't fit. That cheap pink polyester dress hung loose on a frame built for carrying 70 pounds of gear through Afghan mountains, not balancing plates of eggs and bacon. The fabric didn't breathe. She'd asked Pete for a smaller size once. He just shrugged, said it was all he had. So Kira wore it without complaint, the way she'd worn everything else life had thrown at her. At 5'2", she'd learned early. The world judges you on size first, capability never. Her hands were small, scarred, lethal. Those scars told stories she didn't share anymore. Rope burns, hot brass casings. 1,000 small injuries that came with the job she didn't have anymore. She set down 3 breakfast specials at table 4. Regulars, good tippers. Old man Henderson always left 20%. They knew her story, or thought they did. Former SEAL, dishonorably discharged, details murky. They were kind enough not to ask. Kira was grateful for that small mercy. 4 months she'd been at Pete's. The tips were decent. The work was mindless. Nobody expected anything from her except refills and a smile. After 6 months of fighting the Navy's bureaucracy, of lawyers who charged by the hour and gave nothing back, of appeals that went nowhere, the simplicity was almost a relief. Almost. The bell above the door chimed. Kira looked up. 4 men walked in and the temperature in Pete's diner dropped 10 degrees. She recognized the walk first. That particular swagger that said military special operations. The kind of confidence that came from knowing you were among the deadliest 2% of humans on the planet. But there was something else there too. Something uglier. The kind of arrogance that came from never being proven wrong, from operating in a world where rank and reputation meant more than truth. The man leading them was Trent Maddox. Kira's hands went still on the coffee pot. 45 years old, 6'2", 220 pounds of muscle and ego wrapped in a tight black t-shirt that said SEAL Team 3 across the chest. His hair was buzzed military short, graying at the temples in that distinguished way that photographers loved. 3 younger men followed him, trainees by the look of them, still raw, still eager, still believing everything their instructors told them. They couldn't have been older than 25. Fresh-faced and wide-eyed, hanging on Trent's every word. Trent chose a booth near the window, deliberate, visible. He liked to be seen. Kira had noticed that about him during her brief time in the teams. He always positioned himself where people could watch him, admire him, recognize him. She took a breath, professional, invisible, just another waitress doing her job. She approached the table. "Good morning, gentlemen, coffee." Trent didn't look up. He was scrolling through his phone, showing something to the trainees. They laughed. That particular kind of male laughter that came at someone else's expense. One of them, blonde and eager, looked almost apologetic about it. "Yeah, coffee," Trent said, still not looking. "Black, real coffee, not that soy latte garbage they serve at Starbucks. You know how to make real coffee, sweetheart." The trainees laughed again, louder this time. Kira poured. Her hand was steady. Years of holding a rifle scope on a target for 6 hours taught you stillness. The coffee steamed as it filled their cups, dark and bitter. "Anything else?" "Yeah," Trent said, finally looking up. His eyes were blue, cold. the kind of eyes that measured everyone as either useful or expendable. "Tell me something. You work here long." "Few months." "Economy's tough, huh?" He leaned back, spreading his arms across the booth like he owned it. "Bet you see all kinds. People who couldn't make it. People who quit when things got hard. People who thought they were something special and found out they weren't." Kira said nothing. The coffee pot felt heavy in her hand. One of the trainees leaned forward. The blond kid, maybe 23. Name tag said Davidson. His eyes were bright with the kind of naive curiosity that hadn't been beaten out of him yet. "Sir, I heard something crazy. Is it true they let women into SEAL training now?" Trent smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Oh, it's true, Davidson. Part of the great social experiment, diversity and inclusion." He said the words like they tasted bad, like they were something he had to spit out. Command drops the standards, pretends they didn't. And suddenly we've got females who can barely do 10 pull-ups wearing the trident. Another trainee shook his head, darker hair, older, maybe 26, looked like he'd played college football. "That's messed up. My dad served in Desert Storm. He said the teams were the best because they never compromised. Merit only. Now it's all politics." "Your dad was right," Trent said. He picked up his coffee, took a sip, grimaced. "This is weak, like our new standards." He set the cup down hard. "You know what the problem is? We've confused equality with equity. Equality means everyone gets the same chance. Equity means we rig the game so everyone gets the same outcome. And that's what they're doing now." The trainees hung on every word. "I mean, look at the data," Trent continued, warming to his subject. This was clearly a speech he'd given before. "How many women have actually completed Bud S? Real Bud S, not some watered-down version. None. Zero. They fake the numbers, massage the stats. But when you look at actual combat-ready SEALs operating downrange, it's still 100% male. Because biology matters, testosterone matters, upper body strength matters, fast-twitch muscle fibers matter." Kira felt something shift in her chest. A heat. An old, familiar anger that she'd been pushing down for 6 months. "There was that one," the blonde trainee said. "Davidson." He sounded uncertain. "Few years back. Heard she graduated top of her class, made all the news." Trent's expression hardened. His jaw clenched. "You heard propaganda. That girl, Blackwell was her name, she cheated. Whole thing was a setup. They wanted a female SEAL so bad they rigged the tests, gave her extra time, fed her the answers. When honest people called it out, they tried to bury the story. Eventually they had to discharge her. Dishonorable, fraud and deception." Kira's fingers tightened on the coffee pot handle. The plastic groaned under the pressure. "That true?" the darker-haired trainee asked. "Absolutely," Trent said. "I was there. I was the one who reported it, took heat from the PC crowd, from the politicians, from the media. But I wasn't going to let some quota hire make a mockery of the trident. My father, Chief Petty Officer Raymond Maddox, died in Mogadishu, 1993. Black Hawk Down, protecting his teammates. He bled out in the street holding off militia so his brothers could get to safety. He earned his place in Valhalla. I wasn't going to let his legacy get diluted by some girl playing dress-up soldier." The heat in Kira's chest had spread to her hands, her arms, her vision. The edges of the diner seemed to blur. Trent was still talking. "You know what pisses me off most? These women think they're heroes. They do one pull-up with assisted bands and post it on Instagram like they're Rambo. Meanwhile, real warriors, men who have seen actual combat, who have carried their bleeding brothers through hell, who have stacked bodies in Fallujah and Kandahar, were supposed to applaud and pretend it's all the same. That 100-pound girl who can't bench her own body weight is somehow equal to a 200-pound operator who's been doing this for 15 years. Something inside Kira snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically. It was quiet, like a rope that's been fraying for months finally giving way. She set the coffee pot down on their table, carefully, deliberately. Then she pulled out a chair from the neighboring booth, one of those old wooden chairs with the worn red vinyl seat, heavy, solid, the kind of chair that had been in Pete's since the place opened. "What are you doing?" Trent asked, finally registering her presence as more than just background noise. Kira didn't answer. She lifted the chair, not with effort, not with strain. She just lifted it like it weighed nothing, because compared to the gear she used to carry, it didn't. What happened next took 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds would replay in that diner for years. Have you ever seen someone move with absolute certainty? Not anger, not rage, just cold, calculated precision. That's what the people in Pete's diner witnessed that morning. Kira Blackwell, 5'2", 115 pounds in her ridiculous pink waitress uniform, holding a wooden chair like it was an extension of her body. Trent Maddox started to stand, started to say something, but he was too slow. He'd gotten comfortable, soft. 6 months of playing instructor, of sitting in air-conditioned classrooms telling stories about his glory days while eating too much and training too little had made him slow. Kira wasn't slow. The chair came down on the table between them, not at Trent, at the table. The impact was precise, calculated. The cheap diner table cracked straight down the middle, coffee cups jumped, plates shattered. The sound was like a gunshot in the small space. Everyone in Pete's diner froze. Kira didn't. She pulled the chair back, set it down, stood there looking at Trent with eyes that had seen things these trainees couldn't imagine, eyes that had looked through a rifle scope at targets 2 kilometers away, eyes that had watched friends die, eyes that had cried alone in 100 different places where no one could hear. "Blackwell," Trent said, his voice had changed. The swagger was gone. There was something else there now, recognition, and beneath it just a flicker of fear. "That's right," Kira said. Her voice was quiet, steady, the kind of quiet that made people lean in to hear. "Petty Officer First Class Kira Blackwell, dishonorably discharged, fraud and deception. That's what you told them, right?" The trainees were staring. The blonde one, Davidson, had gone pale. "Now wait a minute," Trent started. "No," Kira's voice was still quiet, still steady. "You wait. You sit there and you wait, because I've been waiting for 6 months. 6 months of appeals, 6 months of lawyers, 6 months of people like you telling people like them that I'm a fraud, that I cheated, that I didn't earn my place. So now you're going to sit there and you're going to listen." Trent's jaw clenched. The trainees didn't move. The whole diner had gone silent. Even the cook had stopped flipping eggs. Everyone was watching. "You want to talk about standards," Kira said. "Let's talk about standards. But S-Class 289, 6 months of hell, 587 candidates started, 43 finished. I was one of them. Hell week, 132 hours of constant physical training. No sleep, hypothermia, hallucinations. Guys 3 times my size quit. I didn't. Dive phase. Underwater knot tying with my hands behind my back while instructors tried to drown me. Pool comp. They called it, I passed, land warfare. 40 miles with 100 pounds of gear, 15-minute mile pace. I finished in the top 10. She paused, let it sink in. Shooting qualification. Expert marksman. Expert rifleman. Expert pistol. Scored higher than 87% of my class, including you, Maddox. I saw your scores. You barely qualified. Had to retest twice on the rifle course. But nobody talks about that, do they? Trent's face had gone red. That's classified information. You're not supposed to. Supposed to what? Tell the truth. You've been lying about me for 6 months. I think I've earned the right to tell the truth. She looked at the trainees. They were young, scared, confused. Good, they should be. You want to know why I was discharged? Not because I cheated, not because I failed. Because I reported Senior Chief Maddox for falsifying training records, because I caught him passing candidates who shouldn't have passed, because I found out he was taking money from rich families who wanted their sons to be SEALs without actually earning it. And when I reported it, he made sure I paid for it, fabricated evidence, forged documents, lied to investigators, destroyed my career. Took everything I'd worked for, everything I'd earned. "That's not true," Trent said, but his voice lacked conviction. The trainees were looking at him now, really looking, seeing something they hadn't seen before. "Isn't it?" Kira said. "Tell me, Maddox, where were you deployed in 2019? Because my records say you were in Syria, but the NCIS report says you were stateside that whole year. Training accident, medical discharge consideration. Funny how that got swept under the rug. Funny how you were suddenly back on active duty 6 months later when you needed to testify against me." The color drained from Trent's face. "You want to talk about my grandfather?" Kira's voice cracked slightly, just slightly. The first emotion she'd shown. "Master Chief Rex Blackwell, Vietnam, 3 tour, Silver Star, Purple Heart, Navy Cross. He taught me to shoot when I was 10 years old, taught me that excellence has no gender, no color, no demographic, only standards. He believed in me when everyone else said I was too small, too weak, too female. And he died 2 months before I graduated. Bud S. never got to see me earn my trident, never got to see me prove everyone wrong." She stopped, breathed. The heat in her chest was subsiding now, replaced by something colder, something harder. "So you sit there in your tight t-shirt with your SEAL Team 3 logo. You sit there and you tell your lies to boys young enough to believe them. You sit there and talk about standards and merit and earned. But you and I both know the truth, Maddox. You didn't earn that trident. You bought it. With lies, with fraud, with the reputations of people better than you." She picked up the coffee pot, poured fresh coffee into each of their cups. Her hand was perfectly steady. "Breakfast is on the house," she said. "Welcome to Pete's." Then she walked away, back to the kitchen, back to the routine, invisible again. Behind her, the diner remained silent. The trainees stared at their coffee. Trent Maddox stared at the cracked table, and everyone else stared at the small woman in the pink waitress uniform who just destroyed a man without raising her voice. Pete, the owner, a 60-year-old former Marine who'd seen his share of combat, caught Kira's eye as she passed. He didn't say anything, just nodded once. The kind of nod that said, "I understand, I believe you, and you did good." Kira nodded back. Then she disappeared into the kitchen where no one could see her hands shaking, where no one could see the tears she wouldn't let fall. Not yet. Not here. Not for him. But something had changed. That rope that had snapped, it wasn't broken. It was cut, clean, deliberate, free. 3 days later, Kira's phone rang. She almost didn't answer. Unknown number. Probably spam. Probably another reporter trying to get a statement about her discharge. She'd stopped talking to reporters months ago. They never got the story right anyway. Always wanted to make it about gender politics or military controversy, never about the truth. But something made her answer. "Kira Blackwell." The voice was male, professional, controlled, the kind of voice that gave orders and expected them to be followed. "Who's asking?" "Lieutenant Commander Wade, James Wade. I served with your grandfather in 03, Gulf War. He saved my life in Basra, told me if I ever had a chance to return the favor I should look you up. I'm calling in that debt." Kira sat down. Her apartment was small, cheap, the kind of place where the walls were thin and the neighbors were loud, but it was hers. No one could take it from her. "I'm listening." "I need a sniper, off the books. Black Ops, Syria, hostage rescue, 12 Americans including a senator's daughter. Intel says they're being held by a splinter group, former Syrian military with Russian backing. The location is compromised. We have a 72-hour window before they move the hostages. After that, we lose them, probably forever." Kira felt her pulse quicken. "You know I'm discharged, right? Dishonorably. I can't." "I know exactly what happened to you, Blackwell. I know Trent Maddox. I know what he did. And I know you're the best shot I've ever worked with. Better than your grandfather, and he was the best I ever saw. This mission needs perfect. Not good, not great. Perfect, you're perfect." "Why me? There are hundreds of qualified snipers still in service." "Because this shot is 2,100 meters across open desert, elevated position, variable wind, Target is surrounded by hostages. No margin for error. Miss by an inch and an innocent person dies. I need someone who won't miss. That's you. 2,100 meters. Over a mile. That was beyond difficult. That was nearly impossible. When? 48 hours, you in. Kira closed her eyes, thought about Pete's diner, thought about the pink uniform, thought about Trent Maddox's face when she'd walked away, thought about her grandfather, thought about the trident she'd earned and lost. What's the pay? Nothing official. This is off the books, but if we're successful, certain people will take notice. Certain investigations might be reopened. Certain charges might be reconsidered. I can't promise anything, but I can promise this mission matters. Those hostages are someone's daughter, someone's son, someone's parent. They deserve a chance. You're their chance. You're asking me to risk everything for nothing guaranteed. I'm asking you to be what you've always been. A SEAL. That doesn't change because some piece of paper says otherwise. Your grandfather taught you that. Excellence doesn't need a certificate. Kira opened her eyes. Text me the coordinates, I'll be there. She hung up, sat in the silence of her apartment. Her heart was pounding, not from fear, from something else. Purpose, direction. The thing she'd been missing for 6 months. The thing that made her who she was. She stood, walked to her closet. In the back, beneath old clothes and forgotten belongings, was a case. Long, heavy, locked. She'd kept it even when she'd sold everything else. Some things you don't give up. Some things are part of you. She opened the case. Inside was her rifle, custom-built, perfectly balanced. The scope was military grade. The barrel was match grade. She'd fired that rifle 10,000 times. Knew every quirk, every adjustment, every breath. It was more than a tool. It was an extension of her will. Kira ran her hand along the barrel. Cold, familiar, right. Okay, Grandpa, she whispered. Let's do this one more time. 48 hours later, Kira was prone on a rocky outcrop in the Syrian desert. Temperature was 112 degrees. Wind was gusting 12 miles per hour, shifting direction every few minutes. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of blood and fire. Below her, 2 kilometers away, was a compound, concrete walls, guard towers. In the courtyard, 12 Americans sat with bags over their heads. Around them, 15 hostiles, armed, alert, professional. Wade was beside her, spotting. Target is the one in the center, white shirt, holding the rifle. He's the commander, take him out, the others panic. Our team moves in during the confusion. We extract the hostages. Simple. Nothing's simple at this range, Kira murmured. She was calculating wind speed, temperature, elevation, Coriolis effect. The rotation of the Earth itself would affect this shot. At 2,100 meters, she had to account for everything, every variable, every factor. One mistake and someone innocent died. Can you make it? Wade asked. Kira looked through her scope. The target was clear, white shirt, visible, but surrounded by hostages. The margin for error was less than 6 inches, less than the width of a human head. Yes. She breathed, slow, controlled. Her heart rate dropped. 60 beats per minute, 50, 40. She trained her body to do this, to slow down when everything else was chaos, to find stillness in the storm. Wind, wait for it there. A lull, 3 seconds of calm. She had 3 seconds. She adjusted, fraction of an inch, held, breathed out, slow, steady between heartbeats. In that space where nothing existed except the target, the shot, the mission. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked. The sound echoed across the desert. 2 full seconds passed. That's how long it took for the bullet to travel over a mile. 2 seconds where Kira held her breath. 2 seconds where everything hung in balance. Then through the scope she saw it. The target dropped, clean, instant. The hostiles scattered. Wade was on the radio. Go, go, go. Below, the extraction team moved in. Smoke grenades, flashbangs, controlled chaos. 6 minutes later, Wade's voice crackled. All hostages secure. 0 casualties. Repeat, 0 casualties. Blackwell, that was perfect. Dead center. 2147 meters, that might be a record. Kira didn't respond. She was packing her rifle, professional, efficient. The mission wasn't over until everyone was home. As they extracted, as the helicopter lifted into the darkening sky, as the Syrian desert disappeared beneath them, Wade looked at Kira. "I meant what I said. People are going to hear about this. What you did today, it matters." Kira looked out the window. Below, the compound was burning. The hostages were safe. The mission was complete. "Will it be enough?" she asked quietly. "I don't know," Wade said honestly, "but it's a start." 6 weeks passed before Kira heard anything. 6 weeks of waiting, of working at Pete's, of pouring coffee, of wondering if that shot, that perfect shot across impossible distance, had meant anything, if anyone cared, if anyone noticed. Then the letter came. Official Navy SEAL. Her hands shook as she opened it. "Petty Officer Blackwell, you are hereby summoned to appear at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado on November 30th for proceedings related to your service record. Attendance is mandatory. Failure to appear will result in additional charges." Kira read it 3 times. Proceedings, not charges, not court-martial, proceedings. She called Wade. "I got a letter." "I know, be there, trust me." "Wade, what's happening?" "Just be there, Blackwell, and wear your dress uniform. The one with the ribbons. You earned them. Time people remembered that." Kira hadn't worn her dress uniform in 6 months. It was packed away, buried beneath civilian clothes, hidden from sight. She pulled it out. Navy whites, sharp, clean. The ribbons were still there, expert marksman, combat deployment. The decorations she'd earned before everything fell apart. She pressed the uniform, cleaned her shoes, did everything by regulation. If this was her last time wearing it, she'd do it right. The drive to Coronado took 6 hours. Kira spent them in silence, mind racing. What were the proceedings about? Was this about the Syria mission? Was she in trouble? Was Wade? She arrived at 800, sharp, on time. Military precision never left her. The guard at the gate checked her ID, hesitated, made a call, then waved her through with a look she couldn't read. Confusion, surprise. Wade met her at the admin building. He was in dress whites too, lieutenant commander insignia, a chest full of ribbons, a face lined with experience. He smiled when he saw her. "Ready?" "For what?" "You'll see." He led her inside, through corridors, past offices, to a conference room. Large, official. Inside, a dozen people waited, admirals' stars, captains' eagles, civilians in suits. And in the corner, 13 people Kira had never met, the hostages, all 12 Americans she'd saved in Syria, plus one more. A woman in a dark suit, senator's daughter if Kira had to guess. Wade gestured for her to sit. She did, confused, uncertain, afraid this was some kind of trap. The admiral at the head of the table spoke first, silver-haired, stern, the kind of face that had seen everything and believed very little. "Petty Officer Blackwell, do you know why you're here?" "No, sir." 6 weeks ago, you participated in an off-the-books operation in Syria. Hostage rescue, 12 American civilians. You were told this was unofficial, that there would be no recognition, no record. Do you confirm this? Kira's stomach dropped. This was it. She was in trouble. Unauthorized mission, violation of discharge terms. They were going to add more charges, bury her deeper. "I confirm, sir." The admiral nodded, pulled out a folder. "What you weren't told is that the entire mission was monitored. Satellite footage, thermal imaging, audio, every moment was recorded, including your shot. 2147 meters, target eliminated, 0 collateral damage, extraction successful, all hostages recovered alive, 0 friendly casualties." He slid a photo across the table. Satellite image, black and white, grainy but clear enough. The compound, the target, the moment of impact. This is the longest confirmed kill shot in Joint Special Operations Command history, the Admiral continued. Previous record was 1,800 meters. You exceeded it by over 300 meters under combat conditions, variable wind, elevated target, surrounded by civilians. The level of skill required for this shot is beyond exceptional. It's unprecedented. Kira stared at the photo. She remembered that moment, the wind, the weight, the absolute certainty that she could make it. Sir, I don't understand. Am I in trouble? The Admiral almost smiled. No, petty officer, you're not in trouble, but Senior Chief Trent Maddox is. Pulled out another file, thicker, official-looking. Following your operation in Syria, NCIS reopened the investigation into your discharge. They discovered several irregularities, forged documents, falsified testimony, evidence tampering. They also discovered that Senior Chief Maddox has been under investigation for fraud, corruption, and selling classified information to foreign contractors. The charges against you were part of his cover. Discredit the person most likely to expose him. You. Kira couldn't breathe. 6 months. 6 months of believing she was a failure, a fraud, disgraced, and it was all lies, all of it. The Navy made a mistake, the Admiral said. His voice was formal, but there was something beneath it, regret, shame. A serious mistake. You were wronged, Petty Officer Blackwell. Your service record has been corrected. Your discharge status changed to honorable, all benefits restored, all back pay issued, and there's more. He nodded to Wade. Wade stood, opened a case. Inside was a medal, Navy Cross, second highest decoration for valor in combat. Only the Medal of Honor ranked higher. For extraordinary heroism in combat operations against enemy forces, it is my honor to present you with the Navy Cross. The room erupted, not in applause, in something deeper, respect, recognition. The hostages stood, tears streaming down their faces. The senator's daughter approached, shook Kira's hand. You saved my life. You saved all our lives. Thank you doesn't seem enough, but thank you. Kira couldn't speak, couldn't find words. 6 months of pain, 6 months of anger, 6 months of wondering if she'd ever be vindicated, and here it was, all of it, the truth, the recognition, the justice she'd thought she'd never see. The Admiral continued. Additionally, you are hereby promoted to Chief Petty Officer and reinstated to full active duty status with SEAL Team 3. And there's one more thing. He looked at Wade. Wade grinned. Starting next month, you're being assigned as a Bud S instructor, sniper qualification specifically. You'll train the next generation of SEALs, all of them, male and female. You'll teach them what real excellence looks like, what earned looks like. Kira looked around the room, at the faces watching her, at the hostages she'd saved, at Wade who'd believed in her, at the Admiral who was making things right, at the medal in the case, at everything she'd lost and found again. I don't know what to say. Say you'll do it, the Admiral said. Say you'll show these young candidates what a real SEAL looks like. Say you'll make your grandfather proud. Kira stood, saluted. Yes, sir, I'll do it, sir. The Admiral returned the salute. Good. Your grandfather served with me in Grenada. Rex Blackwell was the best shot I ever saw, until you're better than he was, and he'd be proud of that. 3 months later, Chief Petty Officer Kira Blackwell stood on the beach at Coronado. 125 candidates stood before her. Bud S Class 355. 8 of them were women, all of them were nervous, all of them were wondering if they had what it took. The ocean roared behind her, cold, brutal, endless. The same ocean that had tried to kill her during Hell Week. The same ocean that would try to kill some of them. Kira wore her instructor uniform. The Navy Cross ribbon was prominent on her chest, visible, earned, undeniable. Her voice carried across the beach. Command voice, authority, the voice of someone who'd been through hell and come out the other side. I'm Chief Petty Officer Kira Blackwell. Some of you may have heard of me. Some of you may have opinions about whether women belong in special operations. I don't care about your opinions. I care about whether you can do the job, whether you can meet the standards, whether you can become a SEAL." She paced in front of them, measuring, evaluating, seeing which ones would quit today, which ones would make it to Hell Week, which ones might, just might, earn the trident. "This training will be the hardest thing you've ever experienced. Hell Week will break most of you. The ocean will try to kill you. The instructors will push you past every limit you thought you had. And at the end, if you make it, you'll earn the right to wear the trident. Not because of your gender, not because of diversity, because you earned it." She stopped, looked at the women in the group. Young, determined, scared, good. They should be scared. This wasn't going to be easy. "I won't go easy on you because you're female. I won't go hard on you because you're male. I will treat every one of you exactly the same. As a candidate, as someone who wants to be a SEAL, and I will give you every opportunity to prove you deserve it, but you have to earn it. No one gives you anything here." The candidates stood silent, listening, some with hope in their eyes, some with doubt, all with fear. That was normal, that was human. "My grandfather was a SEAL. He taught me that the world will tell you what you can't do. Your job is to prove them wrong. He taught me that excellence has no gender, no color, no demographic, only standards. Meet the standards and you're in. Fall short and you're out. It's that simple, it's that fair." She gestured to the ocean. The surf was up, cold, brutal, perfect. "This isn't about politics. This isn't about diversity quotas. This is about defending our country with the best warriors we can produce. If you're the best, I don't care if you're male or female or from Mars. You'll earn your trident. If you're not the best, you'll ring out. And that's okay. Not everyone can be a SEAL, but everyone gets a fair chance." She paused, let it sink in. "Let's get started." The class began running. Kira ran with them, leading from the front, the way Wade had taught her, the way her grandfather had shown her. As they ran along the beach, the sun rising over the Pacific, Kira thought about everything that had led her here. She thought about Trent Maddox. He was in Leavenworth now, convicted of treason, life in prison, no parole, no mercy, justice finally. She thought about the 12 hostages, home with their families, alive, living, grateful. She thought about her grandfather, Rex, the man who'd believed in her when she was 10 years old and couldn't hit a target from 50 feet. The man who'd taught her that size didn't matter, that strength came from within, that excellence was earned, not given. She thought about Wade, retired now, living in Montana, but he called once a week, asking how the new class was doing, how many had rung out, how many showed promise. And she thought about herself, Chief Petty Officer Kira Blackwell, Navy Cross recipient, record holder, SEAL instructor, vindicated. Not bad for a girl who was too small, too weak, too female to make it. She smiled, ran faster. Behind her, 125 candidates struggled to keep up. Some would quit today, some tomorrow, some during Hell Week, but some would make it, would earn their trident, would become SEALs. And Kira would be there for every single one of them, teaching them, training them, showing them that excellence wasn't about what you were born as, but who you chose to become. That was her mission now. And Kira Blackwell never failed a mission. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak, it simply acts. And sometimes vindication doesn't arrive with fanfare or announcements, it comes quietly, in the form of a mission, a shot across impossible distance, a chance to prove what you've always known, that you earned your place, that you deserve to be here, that you are exactly as good as you believed, even when the world said you weren't. Kira had learned that lesson in the hardest way possible, through loss, through pain, through 6 months of wondering if the truth would ever matter. But it did matter. Truth always matters. Justice might be slow, might be painful, might take longer than it should, but it comes. For those with the courage to wait, to endure, to keep going when everything says stop. As the sun climbed higher, as the candidates ran harder, as the ocean crashed endlessly against the shore, Kira thought about the diner. about the chair she'd brought down on that table, about the moment she'd stopped being invisible, about the look on Trent's face when he realized she wasn't going to disappear quietly, wasn't going to accept his lies, wasn't going to let him win. That moment had been the beginning, not the end, the beginning of everything that came after, the mission, the vindication, the truth. All of it started with one choice, the choice to fight back, not with violence, not with anger, but with truth, with dignity, with the quiet certainty that she was right. And in the end, that's all it took. One moment of courage, one refusal to stay invisible, one decision to stand up and say, no more. The rest followed, not easily, not quickly, but inevitably. Because truth has weight, truth has power, and truth eventually wins. Kira Blackwell knew that now, had lived it, had proven it. And now she would teach it. To every candidate who stood before her, to every person who thought they couldn't, to every young woman or man who'd been told they were too small, too weak, too different to make it. She would teach them that excellence is earned, that standards matter, that if you're good enough, if you work hard enough, if you refuse to quit, you will earn your place. And no one, not Trent Maddox, not the bureaucracy, not the doubters, can take that from you. That was the lesson, that was the mission, that was the truth. And Kira Blackwell would spend the rest of her career making sure every SEAL candidate understood it. Because that's what her grandfather had taught her. That's what Wade had shown her. That's what those 12 hostages had reminded her. That's what the Navy Cross on her chest represented. The truth always matters. Excellence always wins. And dignity, true dignity, doesn't need to speak. It simply acts.